She walked in with elegance and a flawless smile. But within minutes, that polished calm would crack wide open. By the time the cameras stopped rolling, millions would be asking the same question. Who really lost control? It was supposed to be a simple morning chat. Instead, what unfolded between Meghan Markle and Michael Strahan became the most talked-about moment in morning television history. Tanidi, Good Morning America studio buzzed with its usual pre-show. Rhythm, makeup artists darting between stations, producers whispering into headsets, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with the hum of anticipation. Michael Strahan, the unshakable veteran host, sat in the green room reviewing his notes. He'd interviewed presidents, athletes, and A-list stars. But today's guest carried a different kind of weight. Meghan Markle, former Duchess of Sussex, actress, humanitarian, and perpetual headline magnet, was here for a live segment. Officially, the topic was her new wellness documentary. Unofficially, everyone knew this could go anywhere. Meghan arrived early, poised and radiant in an ivory pantsuit that balanced royal grace with Hollywood polish. She greeted the crew warmly, complimented the set flowers, even cracked a joke with a producer. But behind the smile, there was something else, something unreadable. At 8:17 a.m., the red light blinked on. Live. Good morning, America, Michael beamed. We have a very special guest today. Meghan Markle is here to talk about her latest work, her new documentary, and life beyond the spotlight. Meghan, welcome back. Thank you, Michael. Always a pleasure, she replied, voice smooth and steady. The first 5 minutes were textbook. Wellness, motherhood, philanthropy. Safe ground. Meghan spoke with polished ease, sprinkling in words like authenticity, healing, growth. Then Michael pivoted. So, Meghan, he began lightly, you've worn many hats. Actress, activist, member of the royal family. Looking back, did your acting career prepare you for the scrutiny that came later? For a beat, her expression didn't change. Then, a flicker. I think it's reductive to focus on my acting when there's so much more to who I am now, Michael. Michael nodded. Fair. But don't you think those early roles shaped how people see you today? Meghan let out a clipped laugh. Perception is interesting. People believe what they're told, especially by the media. Her tone cooled. In the control room, a producer whispered, Uh-oh. Michael stayed calm. Fair point. But interviews like this, don't they give you a chance to tell your story directly? Her smile faltered. I suppose, if the questions are thoughtful. A silence stretched, long enough for viewers to feel it. Michael pressed on. There's been speculation about your relationship with the press. Some say it played a role in your split from the royal family. Looking back, is that fair? There it was, the crack. Meghan leaned back, legs crossed deliberately. That's an oversimplification. I left because I wanted peace. Because I wanted my children to grow up without their mother being dissected on national television. Ironically, here I am again. Michael raised an eyebrow. And yet, you've chosen to stay very public. Documentaries, podcasts, interviews like this. Some might say you left one spotlight only to create another. The air thickened. Meghan's smirk was icy. Are you suggesting that speaking on my own terms is the same as being hounded by tabloids? Not at all, Michael replied evenly. Just noting the transition wasn't exactly a retreat. The camera tightened its frame. The tension was now part of the show. Meghan's voice sharpened. I get to choose the narrative. That's something you might not understand unless you've lived it. Michael didn't flinch. I'd argue that as someone who's worked in both journalism and professional sports, I understand public pressure better than most. The moment hung heavy. Two professionals locked in a silent duel for control. Michael shifted gears, voice calm, measured. Let me ask you this. Do you think your decision to step away from royal duties had roots in your past? Your upbringing? Your Hollywood career? Did any of that clash with the expectations of the crown? Meghan didn't blink. If you're asking whether I was too American for the monarchy, the answer is yes. And I wear that like a badge of honor. A few audience members chuckled nervously. Michael smiled politely, but his eyes stayed sharp. And has that cultural clash affected your relationship with Prince Harry? Meghan's tone iced over. My marriage is not a topic for public entertainment, Michael. I came here to discuss serious work, not indulge tabloid fantasies. No disrespect, Michael replied smoothly. But people are curious. You and Harry have become icons of change. Part of that story is how you support each other through it. Icons, Meghan repeated, amused. Or targets. There was no humor in her voice. The studio fell silent. Crew members froze, waiting for the next blow. Michael kept his composure. I suppose it depends on who you ask. Some say you've reshaped public narratives. Others believe you've blurred the line between privacy and publicity. And some, Meghan said flatly, just like to hear themselves talk. Boom! A jolt ran through the control room. A producer stood up. Did she just say that? Michael didn't flinch. He leaned back, nodding thoughtfully. Well, I hope I'm asking questions our viewers care about. And I hope they care about things that matter. Meghan shot back, folding her arms. Like mental health, education, equity, not whether my marriage is tabloid-worthy. Michael's smile tightened. Fair enough. Let's dig into that then, if you're open to it. The battle lines were drawn now, civil but sharp. The temperature on set had shifted, and it wasn't done rising. The air inside the Good Morning America studio felt heavier. Michael Strahan sat poised, the polished calm of a seasoned broadcaster still on his face. But in his eyes, something colder. Not anger, not annoyance. Something far more dangerous for live TV. Resolve. Meghan's posture had changed too. No more leaning forward, no more curated grin. She sat back, relaxed, almost smug. Her fingers toyed with the edge of a cue card like she owned the set. Michael cleared his throat, voice steady. Meghan, I appreciate your candor on the media. But let's pivot. Something a lot of viewers wonder about. Your transition from acting to royal life. Did Hollywood prepare you for Buckingham Palace? For a moment, Meghan blinked, caught off guard. Then the smile returned, colder this time. You mean, did playing a paralegal on Suits help me sit next to the Queen? No, Michael. That's a silly comparison, don't you think? Not at all, Michael countered. Plenty of people make career leaps. But I imagine there were parallels, managing scrutiny, balancing personal expression with public duty. Meghan's eyes narrowed. I think what you're really asking is if I was ever worthy of the role. No, Michael said evenly. I'm asking if your past helped or hurt the transition. Meghan chuckled, sharp and joyless. Prepared for a family that saw me as a prop in their historical drama? Let's just say no script could have prepped me for that. Behind the cameras, producers exchanged looks. The director mouthed, "Let it play." They knew what this was becoming. Viral gold. Michael turned a page in his notes. Let's talk about the decision to step back. There's been speculation that tensions weren't just with the press, but inside the palace. Meghan's expression hardened. Oh, here we go, she muttered. Michael pressed on. Reports. Unconfirmed. Of course. Suggest some felt you weren't willing to adapt to the institution. A sharp inhale from someone off camera. Meghan didn't blink. And I suppose you're quoting those mysterious palace insiders? The ones who never show their faces but always have plenty to say? Michael stayed silent. That was his move now. Meghan's voice dropped. Look, it's easy to paint me as the difficult one. People love that narrative, especially when it's a woman, especially a woman of color. But let me ask you something, Michael. Would you be asking these same questions if your guest were a man who married into the monarchy? Michael's face didn't move. I ask every guest the questions the public wants answered. That's my job. And yet, Megan said with a condescending smile. You keep circling the same implication, that somehow I caused my own problems. Michael flipped his card slowly. Is that not a possibility? Megan's smirk vanished. I think we both know what kind of interview this really is, she said, voice like ice. You're not here to learn about me. You're here to chip away at me. Politely, of course, with a smile. But a chisel is still a chisel. Michael nodded slightly. I respect your point of view, Michael said evenly. But one last question. Just one. Megan crossed her arms. Go on. Your relationship with Prince Harry, Michael began, choosing each word like a scalpel. Some tabloids have reported tension, separate travels, public disagreements. Care to comment? Megan laughed. Loud, sharp. I'd prefer not to entertain tabloid trash, Michael. If your questions are going to be based on supermarket headlines, maybe you should be the one playing a paralegal. That one landed. A few staffers winced. Michael blinked once, then smiled. Not his TV smile. A different smile. The kind that said, now the mask is slipping. I ask because your audience, the people who supported you, who rallied for you, want to know if everything's okay. If you don't want to answer, that's your right. But insulting the question doesn't make it go away. Megan shifted in her seat, suddenly less at ease. You know, she said, voice lower now, it's funny how people pretend to be respectful while slipping in subtle digs. You've got it down to an art form, Michael. And you've perfected the art of avoiding accountability, he replied, calm as ever. I am. Silence. Heavy. The director froze mid-cut signal. Michael glanced at his notes. Let's talk about your production company. Are you focusing on documentaries or scripted content? Megan didn't answer. She sat there, arms folded, eyes locked on him like a chess player realizing she's 5 moves from checkmate. Megan, he prompted gently. She blinked once. The mask slipped further. I think, she said slowly, we should wrap this up. Michael nodded. If that's your choice. But everyone in the studio felt it. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The air was electric now. Megan crossed, her legs, angling her body away from Michael, a subtle signal, but unmistakable. The gloves were off. Michael sat perfectly still, cue cards idle in his hand. He didn't need them anymore. Before we close, he said calmly, there's one more thing the audience has been buzzing about. Your recent comments about the monarchy, calling it, quote, a dusty institution built on outdated ideals. Megan tilted her head, eyes narrowing. Is that really how you want to end this, Michael? You said it, he replied, unflinching. Do you still stand by it? I said. What needed to be said, she shot back. Not everyone has the courage to speak out when something is wrong. But some would argue, Michael leaned in slightly, that you walked into an ancient system with your own expectations and got upset when it didn't bend to you. Her expression hardened. I walked into that system as a wife, a mother, a humanitarian, Megan said, voice tight. Not as someone looking to stage a coup. But when I saw what it did to my husband, to my mental health, I chose peace. And the book deal? Michael asked without blinking. The docuseries? The Spotify contract? Were those about peace, too? The question hung in the air like a grenade with the pin pulled. Megan sat back. Her silence was louder than words. Look, she said finally, the veneer cracking. I'm not here to justify my existence. I have a platform. I use it. Isn't that what you people always say? Use your voice. Absolutely, Michael said. But when that voice comes with millions of dollars and global exposure, it also comes with scrutiny. You don't get to opt out of that. And who decided you get to lecture me about scrutiny? She snapped. I'm not lecturing, Michael replied, folding his hands. I'm interviewing, or at least I was. The control room was frozen. No one dared cut to commercial. This was too good. Megan's jaw clenched. You've been towing the line this entire time, Michael, pretending to be fair while dragging up every hit piece written about me. I didn't write those pieces, he said, but I read them, just like your audience does. And now you're their mouthpiece. No, he said simply, but I'm not yours either. The silence that followed was volcanic. Megan broke it with a sharp inhale. You know what I think? I think you had your narrative planned the moment I walked in. You wanted the viral clip, the soundbite. You don't care about my work or my truth. This was a setup. Michael raised his brows. And yet you walked into it. Her eyes flashed. Because I believed this would be different. I thought you would be different. He shrugged. Maybe you didn't do your homework? That was it. Megan pulled her blazer tight, like armor. I think we're done here, she said through her teeth. But Michael wasn't finished. One last thing, he said, holding up a final card. You said recently that the truth has no expiration date. Still your belief? Megan didn't look at him. Play your clip, Michael. Get your moment. He didn't. He just stared at her, waiting. She stood without another word, heels clicking like a metronome, counting down the end of a very public unraveling. Michael stayed seated, exhaling only when the backstage door clicked shut. The studio was dead silent. You could hear the hum of the cameras. The floor director whispered, We're out in 3, 2, 1. Let's be honest, Megan said. Her tone clipped as she brushed a strand of hair behind her ear. There's only so much anyone can take of this interrogation. Michael didn't blink. You're free to answer, or not answer, any question, Megan. But remember, this is live television, and you agreed to be here. Megan let out a dry, incredulous laugh. Oh, please. Don't act like this wasn't a setup. You invited me here under the guise of promoting my work, then spent 20 minutes fishing for headlines about my husband and my past. Michael clasped his hands calmly. I asked about your career, your choices, your public journey. You're one of the most talked-about women in the world, Megan. I'd be doing the audience a disservice if I didn't ask what they're already wondering. Her glare sharpened. No, you'd be doing yourself a disservice by pretending you're Barbara Walters. Gasps rippled through the control room. The crew froze. The jab wasn't just sharp. It was meant to cut. Michael's jaw tightened. He leaned in slightly, voice still smooth. I don't pretend to be anyone, Megan. I'm Michael Strahan, and I've earned my seat, just like you've earned yours. But Megan was spiraling. Her tone turned condescending. Let's be real. If my name was still just Meghan Markle, the actress from Suits, you wouldn't even have me on this show. You'd be interviewing another quarterback. Michael smiled, genuine this time, but not out of amusement. Out of realization. You might be right. But here's the difference. I'd still treat them with respect. That landed. Megan blinked. Her mouth opened as if to respond, but nothing came. Instead, she rose slowly, dramatically, like a character delivering her final monologue. You know what? She said, placing her mic on the side table. I don't have to stay here and endure this kind of amateur journalism dressed up as morning fluff. Michael didn't move. You're free to leave, but walking out doesn't make your answers disappear. She adjusted her ivory blazer, chin high. And staying doesn't make your questions any less shallow. With that, she turned and walked off. The studio doors didn't slam, but they might as well have. The weight of what just happened hung in the air like smoke. Cameras kept rolling. Michael remained seated, composed. Then he looked straight into the lens. "Well," he said, pausing, "live TV, folks. Sometimes you get inspiration. Sometimes you get confrontation. And sometimes someone walks out because they didn't like the questions." He smiled again, steel behind the grin. "We'll be right back." The screen faded to commercial, but the clip wouldn't. By noon, it had gone viral. So what do you think? Was Michael out of line for asking those questions? Or was Megan too defensive for her own good? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more raw, unfiltered moments like this, hit that like button and subscribe, because sometimes the most shocking moments are the ones no one planned.